All right, how is everybody doing today? Welcome back here to another episode of the Just Ballin' podcast. You guys know that I've been enjoying talking about some of the teams that have been eliminated and what their offseason, expectations could be, some trades that could end up happening. But I do like to see some other people's input as well. And Bleacher Report dropped blockbuster NBA trade ideas for teams that desperately needed change. He also includes the Boston Celtics and the Phoenix Suns. And I think there's a lot of good teams. There are teams that thought they would have been good that are just going to make major moves this offseason, or at least it feels like that going into it. Like, you got to feel like the Suns could have done something big last offseason. They didn't. This year was a disaster. They're going to most likely trade Kevin Durant. Bradley Beal is in this thumbnail photo. I don't know about that. If he's going to get traded, that would be kind of crazy because of the contract. But you would think that they're going to make a move. Denver just lost in round number 2 again. I mean, I would love Kevin Durant in that Michael Porter Jr. role, but you're going to have to give up some draft capital in every swap and maybe have to throw in a Watson or a Strother to get that done because Porter Jr.'s contract isn't great. What is Boston going to do? Because I think if you're going to lean into, I'm okay getting a top 5 pick next year because we don't own our picks down in 28. And this is a year where there's a 3-headed class. It's a loaded 26 draft. We're good getting a top 5 pick. We would trade Jaylen Brown. And I think and if you do that, trade Drew, trade KP, and you can really reshuffle this roster around Pritchard, White, and Tatum going forward, which is a good core. So let's see what we got here. The first one is New Orleans begins a full-on reset, and Portland gets a star. Okay. This trade is going to say that DeAndre Ayton, the 11th overall pick in this draft, Milwaukee's 2028 first swap, Milwaukee's 2029 swap for Zion Williamson. Okay, I was worried that the cover photo having Denny Avdia and Toumani Camara in it was going to be like they were going to be included in this trade. So, to be honest with you, I don't think this is that much for Zion. And I think, God forbid, Zion really just never gets healthy, right? You have to think that you're buying in at a great time, that I know this year was a disaster with the hamstring injury, but he looked great at the end of the year, and you're getting somebody that, say he puts it all together, say he gets healthy, and he could play 65 games a year on average, which maybe you'll take. He could be a top 15 player in the NBA and is the best player that Portland would have on their roster and probably the highest ceiling that anybody they have, including Denny and Scoot and Sharp. And I'm giving up DeAndre Ayton. Cool. I'll pack your bags, DeAndre Ayton. You're fine with Donovan Clingan moving forward. Milwaukee's 2028 and 2029 first. I mean, those are basically what you got back for Damian Lillard, and I think you're okay packaging those for a bigger name. And you're giving up the 11th overall pick, which does hurt a little bit because you could add somebody that's a big or a wing or a guard, but the odds of you drafting somebody that's going to be as good as Zion there hurts. Now, if Milwaukee trades away Giannis, this could be like, oh, we could have these Milwaukee picks, which could help us get a bigger name down the line. But I'm trying to think like Zion's best fit here in Portland, because Portland could use some shooting. And Zion's not a good shooter, but you could have Zion, and Scoot, because I think Zion could be a point forward, but you can run a big lineup out there. Like, you could have Scoot at the 1, Sharp at the 2, Denny at the 3, Zion at the 4, and Clingan at the 5, and then you hope that Scoot's 3-point shot develops this year, and then you could even run some, like, different hybrid lineups with Kamara at the 5 instead of Clingan, just because of the defensive upside he has now against bigger guys, and there could be foul trouble. You never know. This one's tough. So for Portland, I think I would think about this. For New Orleans, I'm not doing this. I'm not. I don't think the risk is worth it here. I'm keeping Zion. I'm really trying to maybe move CJ McCollum this offseason. I would maybe test the Jordan Hawkins market as well, because I don't know if there's going to be a clear path for him to develop, especially if you draft a wing there at number 7. So Aiden's contract, I don't really want. Those Milwaukee first could end up being something for you down the line. But if you watch Zion Williamson turn into a top 15 player in the league throughout a 2-year stretch even, I'm going to be pretty upset. And I think for Portland, you got to think about it too. Like, do you think you could become a contender with Zion? Now, you never know. We're about to have our 7th different champion in 7 years, but the Spurs are coming. The Rockets are there. The Mavericks are getting Cooper Flag. The Thunder, the Timberwolves, like the Western Conference is loaded. Jokic is in the West as well. Luka's in the West. Is it worth it to put all your eggs in the Zion Williamson basket? But Zion also has that contract for the next 2 years where you could just cut him and you don't have to pay a dime. I'm thinking about this for Portland. I am not doing this if I'm New Orleans, but I'm thinking about it if I'm Portland. And you guys on the YouTube comments or in the Spotify comments, let me know. Would you do this trade? Especially if you're Portland. I think most Pelicans fans would be like, I don't think there's something that I would love coming back. I think I would want maybe Tumani Kamara, and then you think Portland probably not going to do it. I'm just not really interested in Aiden. I mean, those picks could be something, but I mean, it would be funny if New Orleans just owned Milwaukee's draft capital for the next like 4 or 5 years. So next up, we got Boston begins adjusting post-Tatum injury, and Dallas buys Kyrie time. So Boston receives Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington. Brooklyn receives Dwight Powell, 2026 second, and Dallas receives Drew Holiday. Okay. So Gafford and PJ both need extensions at the end of the year. I think PJ's a little bit more valuable to Dallas than he would be to other teams, but Gafford in Boston could be a very good ad for them. I know he's not a three-point shooter, but he's a physical bruiser inside. And honestly, getting 2 players that you don't need to re-sign at the end of the year and getting out of that Drew Holiday contract, I think I'm doing this. Actually, I'm 100% doing this if I'm Boston. I'm not even thinking twice about this. And then, hey, if your season's not going to plan, you could probably still net something for Gafford and PJ Washington at the trade deadline. And Holiday helped you win a title in 2024. I think there's a chance there's regression from Drew next year. And you, I think, would rather get out of the Drew Holiday contract and, like, situation 1 year early than 1 year late. Like, I'd rather trade Drew right now. Maybe he's fine next year. Maybe he's a good player next year. But then you see the wheels start to fall off in the second to last year of that contract. I don't want anything to do with that. That is $65 million or $68 million of bad money. I'm doing that if I'm Boston. I mean, sure, Brooklyn, you're just taking on Dwight Powell's 1 year, what is it, like $4 million option, something like that for getting a second. Sure, I would do that. And it's most favorable out of Minnesota, New Orleans, New York, and Portland. There's a chance one of those teams is picking in the top 10 next year. And then Dallas gets Drew. I think if I'm Dallas, I'm not doing this. Because, I mean, unless you legitimately think Drew, Kyrie, Anthony Davis, Cooper Flagg, we'll say Najee Marshall or Derek Lively, like that lineup. I mean, this is a good team, and Dallas has plenty of depth, especially on the perimeter. So I don't think they're losing sleep over PJ Washington right now because of Cooper Flagg. They're not losing sleep over Gafford because of Derek Lively and Anthony Davis, but both of those guys were injured last year. I think if I'm Dallas, I wouldn't do this. I would maybe try to accumulate some draft capital, and maybe a player that can help you now, but doesn't have to be to the standards of Drew Holiday, for somebody that may help you next year, but I don't think it's a guarantee because you have no idea how Kyrie is going to look off the ACL tear. And I'd rather just trade them in separate deals, maybe accumulate a top 10 protected first from a team. Maybe you could acquire somebody else. And I know, I mean, Drew and Kyrie in the backcourt with like Flagg, Anthony Davis, and Derek Lively is very exciting to think about. And I would think about this deal, but I would also be in the market for a Tyus Jones, a Chris Paul, a Spencer Dinwiddie, a Dennis Schroeder, one of those point guards this offseason that cost you $4 to $5 million on a 1 year deal, or a 1+1 with a player option. And instead you can kind of trade PJ if you're like, all right, we have Max, we have Clay, we have Najee, we have all these guys on the perimeter, Jaden Hardy. We could trade PJ for a first round pick from Sacramento, or a first round pick from OKC, or a first round pick from Cleveland. I don't know, one of those teams, right? So I would think about that. And Gafford, I mean, if Gafford wants $20+ million a year, you're just not going to be able to afford that. So I don't hate the idea of this. I would definitely do it if I were Boston. I wonder if we were going to see like a Jaylen Brown trade also included here. So here we go. We got Phoenix trades Durant as part of a bigger game, and Houston gets a massive scoring punch. So does bigger game mean like we have another trade coming after this? I don't know. Phoenix receives Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., number 10, a 2026 first, and a 2027 first. Both of them getting their first round picks back. So I've talked about this, I think, with the draft night trade idea episode, where you can lump Washington into this, and you can get back your first round pick if you were going to trade Kevin Durant. I think that would be huge for Phoenix. Houston receives Kevin Durant. Washington receives Jock Landale, with the Jonas Valanciunas trade exception, pick 29 and a 2029 first round pick, least favorable of Cleveland, Minnesota, and Utah. Now, if I'm Washington, I don't think that's enough for me to sacrifice Phoenix's 2026 first, because you're getting least favorable out of Cleveland, who has, okay, maybe Donovan Mitchell, you never know, he might not be there in 29, but you have Evan Mobley, and that team is probably going to be fine. Minnesota, and Utah, it's the least favorable of that trio. So it's whatever team has the best record, and one's going to have Anthony Edwards. I mean, you'd think Utah's going to be fine in 2029. So if I'm Washington, I'm not really doing this. I would expect something more. I would need somebody getting rerouted to me better than Jock Landale. maybe Ryan Dunn, I'll think about this, and Phoenix is going to have to give up a legitimate asset if they want their first back next year. And they traded their 2031 first, which they did with that Jazz trade. And I would have been okay trading my 2031 first for my 2026 first back, but they can't do that anymore. I mean, if I'm Phoenix, I'm doing this trade any day of the week. I know Jalen Green, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker seems a little redundant, and maybe you could find a third team to take on Jalen Green. I think getting Jabari Smith Jr. back for an expiring 36-year-old Kevin Durant, and it's for a team that completely needs to reshuffle their identity, is fantastic value. And not only are you getting back Jabari Smith Jr., you're giving back Jalen Green, who can at least help you in the regular season. Pick number 10, so we can now add a Come On Now You Watch, a Derek Queen, a Thomas Sorber, a Carter Bryant, one of those guys. And I get my first round picks, God forbid we're really bad next year into 2027. I am running to the league office to do this if I'm Phoenix. If I'm Houston, I feel like I'm giving up a little bit too much. Like, I think I'd rather trade away Reed Shepherd than Jabari Smith Jr. And I'll be like, I don't care how many backcourt guys you're going to have in Phoenix. Like, if you want us to give you some of your picks back, you're taking Reed Shepherd than Jabari. Or maybe they just have to do Cam Whitmore and they can hold on to Reed. I just don't think Washington would do this. I just feel like Houston, I wonder if Kevin Durant's going to be more so I thought Indiana was going to be a dark horse team or Minnesota, but both of them made it to the conference finals. I mean, you never know. They might think that puts them over the top. I think Denver is a clear team. I think Boston could be a clear or an underdog or dark horse, I should say. Kevin Durant team. Yeah, I mean, like, this is great for Phoenix, but I just don't think Houston or Washington would do that trade. Next up, we have, so Phoenix. Interesting. Phoenix leans into a gap year and Milwaukee tries to keep Giannis. So, we have something interesting here. Phoenix gets Damian Lillard, who was out all of next year, basically. Milwaukee's 2031 first round pick and Milwaukee's 2031 second. Milwaukee gets Bradley Beal. Utah gets Chris Livingston and a 2026 second. To be honest with you, why does Milwaukee have to give up a first round pick here? I guess you're giving them somebody that is not playing next year. I guess that's why you have to give up your 2031 first. I would not do this if I were Milwaukee. Unless I'm getting somebody that's like 23, I would do this. But no, that draft 6 years from now, and who knows where Giannis is going to be. Yeah, Bradley Beal gives you something next year rather than Damian Lillard. And I think Bradley Beal would have better numbers and could be a more productive player, not in Phoenix. I just don't think he gelled well with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, and I would like to see Bradley Beal in a higher usage role. I would. I think if you surround Bradley Beal with some really good defenders and complementary pieces, and he's a number 2 to Giannis, I think that could be fine next year. But is Bradley Beal ready for a usage increase? Because he's been banged up the last 2 years. I could see a Dame for Beal swap. Milwaukee giving up their 2031 first. If there's like a protection on that, I'm okay. Okay, maybe if there's like a top 8 protection on that, I would think about that if I were Milwaukee, and then it can go to like top 6, top 4, sure. I am not doing an unprotected 2031 pick to take on Bradley Beal, who's got a no trade clause. That doesn't get lifted after you trade for him, so you still, if you wanted to flip him, that comes impossible. He's got, 2 years left on the deal now. Dame's got, I think, 2 years left on his deal, or is it 3? Either way, like, next year's a wash. I'm okay. If I'm Phoenix, I'm doing this. I am. If I could really get Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr. and number 10 and 2 first, including mine back for Kevin Durant, I could see Jabari Smith Jr. and Jalen Green in a different environment in Phoenix and the number 10 overall pick. I could play Oso Ighodaro and Ryan Dunn more minutes next year, and heck, even Colin Gillespie. And I get Damian Lillard back for the 2027 season with maybe my pick in the lottery. I'm doing that any day of the week. Sure, Utah's basically just taking on Livingston and it's 26 second, sure. I could see the Beal for Dame vision. Like, I could see that conversation. I think there's just too much risk here for Milwaukee. So lastly, I wonder if the guy who wrote this was like, all right, we're going to make the Suns better. And then Milwaukee gives into the Giannis chatter and San Antonio goes big. There's a cover photo of Giannis and Wemby. So, I guess this doesn't correlate. So he correlated the Suns trade with Durant going to Phoenix, and they're like, okay, Durant's in Phoenix, let's trade Beal for Dame. But if you're trading Beal for Dame and you're 2031 first, why am I trading Giannis now? So, there are different versions of this. Harrison Barnes, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, number 2, number 14, Atlanta's 2027, 2029 from San Antonio, and a 2031 first round pick, most favorable for San Antonio, Minnesota. Oh my God. Can San Antonio really get Giannis but not trading away Devin Vassell? Oh man, that's a good offer if you swap out Barnes for Vassell, because Vassell with Johnson and Sohan can at least keep you afloat next year. Like, I don't think they would bottom out. Because because they would have some flexibility this offseason as well. You add Dylan Harper and maybe somebody NBA ready at 14, and maybe that's Colin Murray Boyles, maybe that's Rasheer Fleming, maybe that's Danny Wolf, somebody that can help you next year. So you're okay giving New Orleans the 8th or the 12th overall pick next year, right? You get Atlanta's 27 first. I mean, I want Atlanta's swap next year. Do I care about San Antonio's 2029 first when they're going to have Wemby, who's going to be like, what, 25? And then they're going to have Giannis and Castle and Fox. I don't care about that first. I don't really want any of San Antonio's first back for Giannis. I'll take some swaps instead of seconds. Like, I'll take some swaps in that deal. But I want Atlanta's 2026 swap. I want that Kings swap down the line. I want the Boston swap. I don't care for the 2029 San Antonio first. I mean, I'm doing this any day of the week if I'm San Antonio. You can roll out a lineup of Fox, Castle, Vassell, Giannis, and Wemby. Are you out of your mind? That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. You get to keep Atlanta swap next year. I don't know if Branham or Wesley are going to be back. Probably not. You keep Sandro this offseason. I mean, yeah, I'm doing that for sure. So I guess to revisit some of these, I would do this if I were San Antonio. I would not do this if I were Milwaukee. For the Phoenix leads, it's the gap year. I would do this if I were Phoenix. I would not want to trade Dame for Beal and also give up my 2031 first in that deal. For the Kevin Durant 3-teamer, I would do that if I were Phoenix. I would not do it if I were Houston. I think it's a little too much. In Washington, I would not do that. And then the Boston, I actually think this one could make sense for all parties involved. I think that's one of the more realistic ones in this. In the first one, like the Zion in Portland, I'd at least think about it if I were Portland. I just don't think New Orleans would give up Zion for that return. So yeah, that is going to be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the Just Ballin' podcast. That was a fun, interesting one. And if you guys want to give me some trade ideas in the comments below, maybe I'll react to some of your guys' ideas for the 2025 offseason. Hit that thumbs up if you guys did enjoy it on YouTube, and subscribe if you are not already. And if you can hit that follow button and maybe leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it could really help the pod grow. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.